Hello there, welcome to another writing vlog. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. I want to try to do a writing challenge. But before I get into that, if you're new here, my name is Marta. I'm an aspiring author currently working on my debut trilogy project site. I am currently working on the second act of the second draft of the second book in the trilogy, and I also work full-time as an engineer. And something that's been bugging me recently is that I'm actually really good at concentrating when I'm at work. In an 8-hour day, I can easily do 7 hours of actual work done. And then the weekend comes along and I can't remember the last time I did more than 3 hours of writing in a day. And that doesn't sound right to me, because I do like engineering, but I like writing more. So how come I can do 7 hours of engineering in a day, but I can't do the same for writing? Today I am going to try to answer that question by pretending to be at work for the entire day and basically writing, but writing to the same schedule and with the same routine as I would on a normal work day. So this morning I set my alarm for 6:30 in the morning on a Saturday. The things I do for science. It's actually 8:30 already, which means I'm technically half an hour late for work. So we'd better hurry up and open up some documents and get the challenge started. Something that a lot of companies do is we have something called the Daily Standup, which is a small little short meeting where we talk about what we did the previous day and what we're gonna be doing today. And we sort of assemble together as a team and go through those things. So I've got the whole team assembled. We've got the cow writer and the edited duck. And we're just gonna have a little catch up on our progress, I suppose. So yesterday I was working on chapter 28. I love how I'm immediately putting on my work voice. Jesus Christ. I'm taking this far too seriously, I think. Yes, we were working on chapter 28 yesterday, and that was one of the better chapters in the second act. It didn't need a complete rewrite, but it felt like it had a lot of white room syndrome. So I did rewrite some chunks of it, and some of the dialogue was a bit choppy, so like we've just made it a little bit better. So what I've been doing this morning is going back through that chapter a second time and just having another pass through. I think it's a lot stronger now. So I'm gonna be now working on chapter 29, which is a brand new chapter that I like brainstormed a little bit of. I kind of know what the main points are that I need to hit, so like I know what the purpose of the chapter has to be. On a scene level, I have no idea how we're doing this. There's basically a whole lot of information I need to convey to the reader in a way that's interesting. So now I have to figure out how to make something interesting. I had a little look at my outline, and this is definitely the hardest chapter I have coming up. After this, there's 2 or 3 chapters, I think, that are a little bit easier. At least they're already written. They need work, but I'm not starting from scratch on them. So I think really I'm just gonna have to like hunker down on this one and figure it out. It's not one that I'm particularly excited to write either. It's very much needed for plot reasons. I don't know, when I have chapters like these and I look at my outline and it's like, okay, you need to tell these things, but there's no scene attached to them, I find them difficult to visualize, and as such I find them boring. But then once I do the brainstorming and I figure out how to make it not boring, then I find it interesting. So hopefully I'll come up with an idea, and if not, I guess we can just skip ahead because we have a lot of writing to get done today. What are you working on today, Jeff? That's very interesting. It is 10:30. I have somehow only done an hour and a half of writing, which actually makes sense because I only started 8:30, so that's 2 hours, and half an hour filming seems reasonable. Still, I feel like in terms of how much writing I'm actually sitting down to do. This isn't going great, but I'm very happy with the progress that I've been making so far. I've just spent like a little over half an hour working on brainstorming out this new chapter I was talking about, and we're now past the point of, oh, this is gonna be really boring because I don't know what's happening. I have a really cool scene in mind that I think is gonna be very, very fun. This happens to me a lot, but like when I don't know what a chapter is gonna be like, I just assume it's going to be bad. It's not going to be bad, I just need to sit down and brainstorm it, and then it's gonna be good once I figure it out. My process for brainstorming a chapter normally involves starting from what do I need this chapter to convey, and then sort of asking myself questions and answering them back. I like thinking on paper, so I've just been typing away this entire time. No words have been written that are going into a draft, but I've got 3 pages worth of just dumping my thoughts onto the page. Like I'm effectively talking to myself, but instead of talking to myself out loud, I'm writing down my conversation with myself. It's fine. I am only a little bit mental. But what I actually wanted to talk to you about is, I think normally when I get to this point where I've brainstormed a new chapter and I've got a structure in mind, I've got like a whole bullet point outline of the chapter. Like I think at this point I've got half a page worth of just the outline of the chapter and like 3 pages of brainstorming before that. I like to sleep on it, which is a little bit silly because most of the time I make no changes after I sleep on it. Like I know I'm happy with this idea, I'm really excited for it. So why do I need to sleep on it? This is why I never get any writing done. So we're gonna try and just not sleep on it. I've done the brainstorming. I know what's happening. So now I'm gonna write it. Straight after, no break. Let's see how that goes. If you are a regular attender of my Saturday streams, you might recognize this little background, this little setup, and you are indeed correct. We have a stream scheduled in, what's the time? About 40 minutes. I was planning on streaming today anyway, so I figured it would be good to combine this challenge with my stream, seeing as we're like a little bit later in the day now. So I thought I would be running out of steam by now and I would need the stream to keep me accountable. I'm actually completely fine. I'm really surprised by this. I haven't done as much writing as I thought I would by this point. We've only done 3 hours at this point in the workday, so I've just finished lunch. I would normally have done 5 hours of work, minus tea breaks and whatever. I'm being very careful to time track everything I'm doing today because I am very curious as to how this is gonna work out. So a lot of the time what I do when I'm writing is I time track things anyway. But then if I'm filming, I don't necessarily always have a timer running, but I'll do an estimate at the end of the day. But today I'm trying to be very intentional in how I'm actually spending these 8 hours of my 9 to 5 work day. I actually normally work 8 to 4:30. What I'm doing today is gonna be 8:30 to 5 because I started a bit late, because I did not get up when my alarm went off this morning, But anyway, where I was going with that is that today I've done 3 hours of writing and 1.5 hours of filming. Which is not the ratio I was aiming for. It's not the ratio I was expecting. I've gotten a lot of writing done in those 3 hours. I think what I normally consider a great, like super productive writing day where I do a ton of writing and I feel really good about it, that's normally from 2 to 3 hours for me. I don't think I've done more than 3 hours in months, if not years. So the fact that we're 3 hours in of pure sitting at my desk and writing, because every time I get up to have a drink, I do pause that timer, so that is 3 hours of actual focused work. And we still have a 2-hour, 2.5-hour stream left at this point. It's insane to me. I hope that I am not completely dead by the end of this, but we'll see. In terms of where I actually am with the story, I finished chapter 29, I finished a first pass of chapter 29 before lunch, and I've just had a bit of a break, so we are now going to go through that chapter again. And it timed out beautifully because I finished it just about the time I was going to have lunch anyway, which gave me a little bit of time away from it, a little bit of separation. And now I get to read it with semi-fresh eyes. Again, normally I would stop at this point and look at it again the next day. And I think what I'll do is if I read it and I'm like, no, I'm still too close to this, I want to wait until tomorrow, I'll just move on to the next chapter. Normally I wouldn't do that. Normally if I finish the first part of a chapter, I put it away and I do the next part of the chapter the following day. And this is why I never finish anything. So I'm looking forward to seeing if I can do both passes on the same day without it feeling uncomfortable. And if not, I look forward to moving to the next chapter. I still have 35 minutes before my stream, so I've got my camera set up. I'm just gonna get my laptop and stuff ready as well. And then I'll probably do like a little teeny tiny 20-minute writing sprint before I start streaming. Because I'm not gonna sit around for half an hour. We are gonna do some writing. It's been a couple of days since we completed the challenge, and I figured it was just about time to finally sit down and talk about it for a bit. Now I'm guessing the first thing you're gonna want to know are my statistics. So in total we worked on the book for 4 hours and 44 minutes. I streamed for 2.5 hours and I filmed for 1.5 hours, which if you take off the streaming, because that was all happening in parallel to the other stuff, just the writing and filming added up is 6.25 hours, which, considering I previously said that in an 8-hour workday I would normally work for 7 hours and take 1 hour of key breaks, bathroom breaks, etc. That's pretty close. I did have a slightly longer lunch than I normally would have on an actual workday, and the streaming also took up some time. So I think I'm pleased with the amount of work I was able to do overall. I do wish the writing chunk was a little bit higher. If I show you the actual breakdown of how the day went, you can see that especially in the afternoon, I just wasn't feeling it anymore. I was keeping myself accountable and I was writing during the sprints during the stream, but especially that final sprint, I couldn't do it. And part of that is because that last chapter was really difficult. I was really stuck getting into that fight scene. I'm still not entirely sure how to tackle it. I've been working on the same chapter since. It's been a time, but but overall I'm actually surprised with how well I felt by the end of the day. I think if I'd been writing a different chapter that didn't include a really difficult fight scene, I would have been completely fine and I would have gotten a lot more done. But that's the nature of writing. Sometimes you gotta write bits that are difficult and tedious and you don't actually want to do. I think overall this isn't something that I would want to do every weekend. I already spend Mondays to Fridays chained to my desk. There is no reason for me to put the same limitation on a Saturday. But it was really cool to prove to myself that I can do this, that if I wanted to, I could probably work my way up to being able to do this regularly. I think writing is a muscle and you can increase the amount of time that you can write for by writing for longer progressively. Probably wouldn't recommend jumping from 2 to 3 hours to 8 hours all in one go, but I gotta admit the day after I did this, I did not feel like writing whatsoever. I still did my 10 minutes every day that I'm trying to do, but I didn't want to do it. I think part of that was because I was stuck on that scene. I've only written for 10 minutes a day since, and it's been a week. But there's been some other factors. It's been a tough week at work. I'm trying to get used to this new glasses that you might have noticed, which have been giving me a headache. I think I probably blame the lack of energy and lack of motivation for writing much more on the glasses and the difficult scene that I'm writing than the 8-hour day. I don't think the 8-hour day was that taxing on me. One thing I'd be really curious to try, which will not be happening until I'm done with this fight scene, but at some point, would be to try this again without the filming and without the streaming and just see what I can do when I'm just focusing on writing for a day. I think that would be really fun. If you do want me to talk about that in a video or in a community post even, let me know, or I can just do it for myself. But in the meantime, I will continue to write in small, consistent chunks and get through the story a little bit slower. Thank you so much for watching. I would be super curious to know what the longest time is that you've ever written in a day, and also what your average writing time is in a day, or even like on a weekend if you only write on weekends. Let me know if you like, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.